Hey y'all, this is Andrew from the Options Millionaire community. Thanks for watching. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about futures, what they are, and how you can apply them to your current trading strategy. Whether you're looking to get around some PDT rules or learn to hedge some advanced strategies, either way, you're going to want to stick around because this video is for you.
Star copies all, go ahead. Message to observer, Alpha 3 rounds, AT delay in effect, 3 guns. Bravo, 2 rounds, 2 guns, smoke on effect.
So when a lot of people think about futures, they think, hey, that's a little too advanced for me, or they don't really understand what they are. But I promise you, they're not that difficult, and they can help you make a little bit extra money and add a different tool to your toolbox. First, what is a futures contract? The textbook definition of a future is the obligation to sell or buy an asset at a later date at an agreed upon price. Blah, blah, blah. Pretty boring, right? Before we can get into how to use futures, let's figure out exactly what kind of futures there are. The main types of futures right now are stock futures, currency futures, index, commodity, and interest rate futures. There's a lot more, but those are just the main ones. Commodity futures are traded heavily throughout the world and used for a whole bunch of different reasons. But for our purposes, we're just going to stick with index futures because that's what we trade in our server, and that's what a lot of these smaller retail traders trade. So if you notice on the right side of the watch list here, I've got 5 different futures listed. I've got the S&P minis, the NASDAQ minis, the micro S&P, the micro NASDAQ, and then of course the Russell 2000 index futures. And like I said earlier, there are a ton of futures out there that you could trade. However, these are just the 5 main ones that we trade in the server for both income production and hedging. So if you're new to futures, the first question you might ask is, why do I have both the S&P and NASDAQ minis with the S&P and NASDAQ micros? Well, when I am trading with my followers in the Discord, I want to give them options to both increase and decrease their exposure and risk depending on their account details and their personal risk profile. And that's exactly what they do. However, let's go ahead and get into it. First, I'm going to show you the S&P minis. You'll see at the top that we have $50 times the S&P 500 index. What does that mean? That means for every 1 point that the S&P moves right here, you will get $50. So if you were to buy one contract of the S&P mini at 445,350, and this goes up $1 to 445,450, you get $50. And then of course you could do the math of multiplying that times however many contracts you buy. Here are some other fun details like the trading hours, how it's quoted, and the price fluctuations, which we just kind of went over. This goes on to break it down into ticks. A tick is 1/4 of an index point, as you can see, which is 1250. So 4 ticks, 1250 a piece, 4 times 1250 equals $50. Next, let's go over the NASDAQ minis. And the first big difference you'll see is the $20 times the NASDAQ 100 index. So let's go to the NASDAQ right here. What this means is you get $20 per point. So if you were to take one NASDAQ contract at 14,413.50 and it goes up to 14,414.50, an increase in 1 point, you get $20. That's much different from the $50 from the S&P. And also, it comes out to $5 per tick. 4 ticks times $5 equals $20. And you've got all the other pertinent data like trading hours, listed contracts, and the termination of trading. Also important to note, these are financially settled. And what does financially settled mean? That means when the contracts hit settlement, it's financially settled, which means the cash is exchanged from your broker to you, depending on the value of the contract at the time and your cost basis. Next, we're going to go over the micros. Now, this lists all 4 of the micro contracts, the Dow, the Russell, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. We're going to knock out 3 of those right now. So the micro S&P, notice the first one is only $5 per point times the S&P, as opposed to the $50 for the S&P minis. So the S&P minis are 50, the S&P micros are 5, so 1/10 of the size of the S&P minis. This allows you to trade futures with much less risk exposure. If you have a smaller account, this is the best way to get into futures. Or if you want to hedge a smaller position without exposing yourself too much with the minis, you can use the futures. A good rule of thumb from hedging, which we'll talk about hedging more later, is to hedge your portfolio with the minis and hedge an individual position with the micros. Moving on, you see the NASDAQ 100 micros are $2 a point instead of $20 a point like the minis. Again, 1/10 of the size. And then moving forward, you've got the Russell 2000, which are $5 per point times the Russell 2000 index price, just like the S&P micros. So a quick rundown of what each future is and how they pay. And now I'll kind of go into a little bit more basic application of how I use them. Well, if you're new to futures, and now that you know a little bit more about futures, the first question you might be asking yourself is, why would I choose to trade futures over options? Well, firstly, I don't like to look at futures as better than options or options as better than futures. I look at them as tools to place in my toolbox. Market conditions are very dynamic, and the more tools you have, the higher the chances are that you'll be successful. But a couple of pros and cons for futures. The pros are, there are no PDT rules. If you have an account that's under PDT, and as long as you have enough capital to cover the margin requirements of futures, you can still trade futures. Futures are very liquid, especially if you are trading the minis and the micros, the most tradable futures in the world. There are no concerns for liquidity. The bid and ask is very tight, and there's always a way to get in and out on a proper exit and entry. Next one is you can trade 24/5. The futures open Sunday night, and they close Friday afternoon, and you can trade them anytime, any hour of the day, in between. There are key moments throughout the nighttime hours that the futures usually make a move. If you can learn to time them, and you don't mind sacrificing some sleep, you can make some money while everyone else is sleeping. And one of the best advantages to trading futures is that there is no time decay involved. If you traded options before, you know one of the biggest enemies of options is time decay. With futures, there is no time decay. If you enter long on a future at 44.53 and hold it for 2 more hours, the price will still be valued at 44.53. There is no time decay. Now, some of the drawbacks of trading futures. The biggest one is leverage. Although leverage can help you make money, it can also help you lose a lot of money very quickly, which is one thing that new futures traders often face. They get euphoric thinking, hey, I can make a lot of money very quickly. But unfortunately, they enter a losing position and they diamond hand it and see just how far the price can fall and just how much money you can lose very quickly. So if you are trading futures, you have to take into account the biggest con of them all, and that is leverage. If you're trading futures, make sure you put in tight stops and you have a game plan in place ahead of time. Maintenance requirements is another con. You may have additional maintenance requirements or adjustments to your account if you start trading futures. Also, futures are mark to market, meaning when the market closes for settlement each night and opens back up, you will see an adjustment to your buying power if you elected to hold the futures overnight. That's one thing a lot of futures don't really count for. Yes, they like to hold on to futures because there is no time decay, but if you do choose to hold a losing futures position overnight, you will be hit with a buying power adjustment at settlement close. So there you go. There are all the pros and cons of trading futures. Now let's go over a couple of different applications of how I use futures in my trading system. Now there are 3 main ways you can utilize futures. Directional plays, aka following trends. You can scalp or you can hedge. Scalping and hedging are my 2 main ways to use futures. Sometimes I'll throw in a directional play and let it run, but I usually use options for that. For me personally, I love scalping the extended hours time frames, and I've kind of notated here the open and close of a couple of days ago, which was March 14th through 15th. You see the market closes, the market opens, and there usually is some pretty considerable movement with the futures in pre-market hours, particularly around the European Open, the Asian Open, and the market will move. And one thing I've really focused on, which I'm going to do another video on called the flat trade, is that anytime there's red action in the market usually loves to open pretty close to flat every single time. So if you see some red action on the futures overnight, it's a great indicator to go long at least until the market opens and then close the position the market opens. And I've been doing that a lot with futures, and it works out really, really well. And this is just one example of some considerable downside, and then it opens as close to flat as possible going into the open. Doesn't happen every time, but a lot of times it actually works out pretty well. Secondly, and for me most importantly, is hedging. And hedging is a way to protect your other positions, whether they're stock holdings or, in my case, spreads. I trade a lot of different spreads, and I want to be able to make sure I am protecting my spreads in the event that I get a directional run on those short legs and I need to protect those positions. So I'm going to set up the trade real quick so you can understand the situation before we get into why I hedged. But this red line indicates the open of Sunday futures to start this week out. So this is a 5-day period, March 13th night, which is March 14th, into the close, which is March 18th, Friday, March 18th. And as we all know, an incredibly bullish week. We raged a historic rally. So to set the trade up, I play 2 different types of positions, or many different types of positions in the server, and one of which is spreads. If you don't know what spreads are, highly recommend you taking a look at a couple of the videos I've got linked in the description below. So what I did to start the Monday off is I started tranching in PCSs and call credit spreads. Now the focal point of this particular trade was a Friday 44.40 call credit spread, which I placed, and I'm going to put a horizontal line right there to indicate the short leg of that call credit spread. So if you're not well versed in spreads, what this means is that when I place this for an expiration on Friday, which I'll put the expiration right here. What this means is I need the price action to close the week below this line for me to expire 100% profitable. Now, obviously you can see that did not happen, which for a spread trader, this is worst case scenario when the week runs against your short leg and it never stops. This is worst case scenario for a spreads trader. So I was very excited to show you all this trade because it highlights the importance of hedging. So the position goes up and up and up. I haven't started hedging yet by here because of intrinsic value. I'm anticipating some sort of drawback and then expire flat. That was my thesis for the week. As we started coming up, I was like, okay, we're starting to get a little tight. I need to put together a plan for hedging this position. My thesis still was we were not going to breach 44.20 based on the data I had. And obviously that did not work out, and I was wrong, and that's fine because I had a hedging plan in place. So my plan was to hedge at a break of 43.80 and then continue to hedge if the price action started squeezing higher. Now remember, in addition to this spread, I had several other spreads way up above and PCSs that are well below. So what I did is I started going long futures, long ES at 43.73, which was right here. Let's put a line right there. I started hedging futures and we kept on going up, and then I started hedging again at 44.11, which is approximately right there, and again right here. I was adding futures all the way up. Now, the reason why these futures are so important is twofold. One, it minimizes risk. Two, it allows you to hold on to spreads a little bit longer if your thesis is that it's going to close outside the money, because remember, losses on spreads are completely extrinsic until the close of business, until they expire. And they can go from a very substantial loss to a 100% profitable position very quickly. And that's what I was banking on while hedging. So I was hedging the position. The market kept on climbing. It breached my short leg, kept on going up, and I kept adding shorts. So all in all, I had 5 ES contracts on as a hedge against this position. When the market closed, obviously we breached 44.40, which is my short leg. I ended up losing $15,100 on the call credit spread. However, I made $15,400 on my hedges on the way up. So on that particular position, it was a net profitable position. On the day overall, I ended up being negative on the day, but not by that much. It was actually quite manageable because of the hedging positions. So I added hedges here, here, and here in my short leg, and I'll go ahead and change that to yellow for a different color, but I hedged here, here, and here. My short leg was there. I made $15,400 on the hedges. I lost $15,100 on the call credit spread because it was a substantial loss, a once-in-a-lifetime loss here, and I came out $300 positive on that trade. Just to go to show you how important it is to hedge your positions when you are trading spreads or any other positions. When you put risk on, you have to start thinking about how to defend that position when the market turns against you. And this was a prime example, a historic example of when the market does crazy stuff like a 300-point rally on the SPX in 3 days, that you need to learn how to defend those positions. And now this was worst case scenario. And there's other times where you can hedge and make money on both positions and it works out very well. Or you can have a position like this where if you did not hedge, I would have faced a substantial loss. But I did hedge and everything was hunky-dory. Like I said, I'm not going to get into specifics about hedging. That'll be for another video because there's a lot of dynamic nature to that. But I just want to give you an example of how important it is to use futures for hedging. And this is just a way that I use futures right here. Anyway, y'all, that's all I got for this futures video. Nice and basic, nitty-gritty video, a couple of details about it. If you have any more questions, please join the Discord. Hit me up in the Discord. You can DM me, or you can join any of the channels and have a discussion in there. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you want a list of some great investing resources, please head over to theoptionsmillionaire.com and check out my list of investing resources for you to trim up your investing knowledge. I appreciate y'all taking the time to watch this video. This is Andrew from the Options Millionaire community. I'm out.